Hi guys, welcome to Soul Food with Mohadi. My name is Mohadi as per the name of the channel. So today I decided to speak about my spiritual journey. How did I get to be where I am today, right? As I was thinking about this, I thought the best way is to just have three parts of this journey of mine. The first part will just it will be me speaking about my Christian background, and then the second part will be like my journey from Christianity up until the day that I went to my Ndwaso, and then the third part will just be a consolidation, sort of a African spirituality versus Christianity, but not undermining Christianity, right? Yeah, just my experience, my consolidation, of my journey. Yes, it will just be that will be part 3, right? So let's get started with today's part, my Christian walk. So before I start, I'd like to make a disclaimer. This is not a Christian channel. I will be speaking about my my Christian experience. Sometimes it might even sound like maybe I'm being critical of Christianity. It's not my intention to be critical of Christianity, not at all. At this point in my life, I'm not there criticizing other people's religions. It will just be my experience, my reflections, right? So yeah, and as I'm talking as I'm explaining my journey, it will also be a bird's eye view, like an aerial view. I won't really be zooming into details, but it will just be an overview of just my work, right? This overview is also in retrospect, right, when I'm looking back. So some of the things as I am talking, when they were happening, I didn't see them the way I see them now. So it is a reflection and in retrospect, right? So let's get started. My spiritual journey, part 1, Christianity. So I lived with my grandmother up until I was at the age of 10, and my grandmother, she used to attend the Lutheran church, and of course she would take me with. So that is my earliest memory of church. Okay, then from the age of 10, then I lived with my mom, and then up until I finished my high school, and then went to university and started my adult life, right? So during when I was staying with my mom, for the first years, I think 2 years, we used to go to the Lutheran church, and when I was 10, my younger brother was born. So when he got baptized, so I also got baptized in the Lutheran church. Okay, then we switched churches from the Lutheran church to I think we call it the charismatic churches. Yeah, so we stayed there for some time, and then we stopped going to that church. Okay, so now this is my high school days, right? And then so during my high school days, obviously, like, not obviously, but at our school, like on Wednesdays, there used to be like different preachers coming to our high school, and then you like on Wednesdays, for the first period, I think maybe an hour or 30 minutes, there would be that part where you sort of attended churches, like these different pastors would come to our school, and then they would preach the gospel. And then I remember I used to listen to TBN. Yeah, so this is during my high school times. I used to, especially in matric, during school holidays, I would listen to TBN, because I was really a person that liked to stay home. Like even now, like I'm a very homey person. So yeah, like one of the things that I discovered, TBN, Joyce Meyer was my favorite at that time. And then I remember there used to be this other lady who was a Jehovah's Witness. you know how they are, they come house to house, and then they would also preach the gospel. So this lady, actually, this was also during my high school years, right? I mean my matric year. Yeah, because I'm gauging there. Just, yeah, you get what I mean, right? Yeah. So this lady, she used to come there. She used to have those books, Jahaja, Jama, Watchtower. She used to come to our house with that, and then she would read the Bible, and then she would like explain whatever she was explaining, you know. But I never became a Jehovah's Witness. And then I went to university. The first year, I was a Christian. I was going through a lot during my first year, and also I think it also shook my faith a lot, because there were things that I really was questioning, or where is God during these times, you know. But like, it's not like I just decided to let it go. But yeah, there were things that like were unsettling for me. Maybe I expected a lot from God, from Christianity, or maybe not even maybe, I did expect a lot from God, you know. Yeah, maybe in my naivety, that's the kind of person that I was. Yeah, so I was a bit shook. And then in my second year, I remember in my first year, I remember that there was a church that I used to go to. So I used to stay in Res, and during that time at the University of Pretoria, like they did let in people come and like to knocking at people's rooms, you know, sharing the gospel. And there was this lady, she was a Korean lady, and she was actually visiting my roommate. But then I joined in, and I was the one who actually joined the church, you know. I got invited to the church. I was the one who went there. And then I remember I also went to their conferences a couple of times. I think maybe this could even spill into my second year. I'm not so sure, but yeah, it could have spilled in my second year. But yeah, I was a bit unsettled with the Christianity. So yeah, I think I would even ask her questions that Christians don't like to answer, you know. Yeah, you know, like, you shouldn't be, because there is no answer for that, right? You should just believe that whatever they want you to believe, right? So I think in a way I maybe annoyed her a little bit. Yeah, so the structure of the church was that, like, you have like shepherds. I hope I'm not all over the place. So you have shepherds, like somebody who, if they evangelize to you, they are sort of overseeing your spiritual growth. So they are sort of dedicated to you, right? So yeah, so she was my shepherd. So there was a time where she told me that like, she was not really happy. Like, I was not very much what's the word, I was not committed. Yes, I was not showing the commitment and the zeal that she expected from me. And she told me to choose whether I still want to continue or not, and I chose not to. Okay, so in my second year, I remember I was just searching for spiritual truth, if I may put it that way, right? I remember I owned a Quran. I also read from the Hindu perspective, but eventually I settled on Christianity, because Christianity made sense, and it was not too much of a culture shock. Yeah, so I just decided to settle on Christianity because it was just easier. Okay, so that was my second year. And then I also had a friend who was Muslim, and we'd go like during Ramadan month. I guess they were fasting, and then around 6 o'clock at the university, we used to go to the mosque. when they were breaking their fast, and then I would have like dinner with them, right? So but then at that time I was pretending to be Muslim, but really I was just going with my friend. Like we were that close at that point in time. Okay, so yeah, I didn't really look down on other people's religions, but I could say that there were those weird debates that we used to have, you know, like just saying how the one religion is better than the other, but that was like, I don't do that anymore. That was just from my own naivety, yeah, just childishness, right? So yes, so that was that. From this church called UBF, I then started another, and then I went to another church called ENM, but there was a gap in between, and during this gap I used to just go to other churches around campus, yeah, like, but I never committed to any of the churches. I remember I went to the Seventh Day Adventist, that one where you go to church on Saturdays. Like they believe that the Saturday is their Sabbath, they don't eat meat. That one, I went there twice, once or twice. It was not for me. And then there were other churches that I would just go to, drop in and out, you know. Yeah, that was my time before, up until then. Then 2011 or 2010 there, I had a friend. We went to high school together, and when we meet on campus we just catch up, like just about our lives, and then yeah, even like talk about the people from high school, where are they, those kind of things. And then there was this day that we caught up, and then after that he said, I'm going to church. And then I was like, okay, I'm coming with you, you know, let's go to church, right? Because I was always drawn to spiritual things, right? Like in retrospect, that's what I'm seeing about myself, you know. But at that time it was Christianity, because that's what I knew, right? So I've always been, and at that time I didn't have a church, you know. So I was like, okay, let's go to church, you know. Then I went with him, and then I stayed in that church up until 2019. Okay, so I can't remember whether I started that church in 2010 or 2011, but I know that it went on up until 2019, so not less than 8 years it seems. Okay, so now yeah, so now looking back, I'm like, you know, actually if I think about it, there's 2 Korean churches that I went to, and that was where I sort of was committing, you know, because even with the UBF one, I stayed there for some time, you know. I attended their conferences, I attended church, you know, maybe not very regularly, but there was that thing, like Easter conferences would go away, you know, and then I would also have friends there, right? But I didn't stay there, it wasn't okay for me, like at that time. So right, so now I'm at this church called ENM at the University of Pretoria, and then I graduated in 2012. I think I worked, because I had a job before I graduated, so I worked in 2012 the whole year, and then 2013 then I started looking for another job, and then I stayed home for some time, I think for a few months, and then after that then I started then I went to work in Emelo, and then in 2014 I came back to Pretoria. So even when I was at home, even when I was home and when I went to Emelo, I still kept in contact with the church, so I was part of the church, right? So yes, so and then I went back now to Pretoria. That was 2014. When I went back there, the church had something with what we call the sisters apartment, right? So the women in the church would stay at this sister's apartment, so they would stay together. The point is that you encourage each other, spiritually, in your faith. We would pray together every night. You would hold each other accountable, you know. Yeah, you'd hold each other accountable so that you like walk in your Christian faith. So that was the point of that sister's apartment. And then there also was a brother's apartment, right? So but because I'm a woman, obviously I stayed at the sister's apartment. And for me at that time, I just thought that you know, Christians were, I held Christians in very high esteem. I just thought that they were so angelic, you know. So I aspired to have that kind of a lifestyle, and that's why I joined the sister's apartment, right? So yeah, so this part of my life, this part of the church, the Christian church, is the one that shaped me a lot, to be the kind of person that I am even today. Even the views that I have when it comes to Christianity, they are mainly shaped by that part of my life, right? So I stayed in the sister's apartment. The pastor would come, I think for like maybe once a week to visit. Either he's visiting the brother's apartment, and then we go there, and then we have like a church situation, and then we'd swap. Then he would come to the sister's apartment, and then like the brothers would come, we'd cook, bring food, eat together. It was a nice environment, to be quite honest. Yeah, so that was the way I lived. And then I lived there in 2014 and 2015 for 2 years. I lived at the sister's apartment, and during that time, like, you attend church regularly every Sunday. Would go to church, obviously. Like, yeah, how would you even miss church when everybody's going to church, you know? We used to be their church, you know. Yeah, we used to be what made up the church, and it was such a small church, like maybe 15 to 20 people. Yeah, so we are the ones that sort of made up the church. Like, it was like mainly young adults, like people who had just started working, and people who were in university, right? So okay, so now I joined the apartment because I thought that Christians, yeah, I joined the apartment because I wanted that lifestyle of being a Christian, of being different, I guess, from the worldly people, right? So, but that part of my life, like I said, it really shaped my Christian views even today. So yeah, so now that angelic people, like Christians being in the end, like being so highly esteemed, I guess it's something that I really like, that really was removed from me, you know. Not that I disrespect Christians now, but I'm more realistic when I look at people, you know, in the faith of Christians as well. But now I'm talking about the Christian journey, but like, yeah, you get what I'm saying. So during that time, in my naivety, I thought that Christians were perfect, they were highly favored. God, like, you know, if there's opportunities, if there's success, like, it will be given to the Christians, because like they are just God's favorite. If there was to be marriages and relationships, like, you know what, the Christians would have it together, you know, because they are God's favorite, and I also want to be part of that, you know. So yeah, that's how I joined the sister's apartment. Then but like those illusions like quickly evaporated, because now I lived with Christians, right? And I want to be one of them. I was one of them, also inspired to be a better Christian, right? So I lived with the Christians, and then I just got to see that Christians, they are normal people. I think we were all trying our best to be better, we were praying to be better people, to be good Christians that pleased God, you know. But at the end of the day, we were humans, right? So during that time with the sister's apartment, I got to witness a lot of like jealousy, not even just towards me, just like the things that I was observing. So there was a lot of jealousy that I can remember. there were a lot of like attempting to emotionally abuse other people, right? And I'm saying attempting because I feel like for me it didn't work, right? But actually, if I look at it for other people who were part of the receiving, and it did work on them, because it would affect their self-esteem, because they were unassuming, like because this person is a Christian, whatever they say must be right, you know. So they were not cognizant of, or okay, this person is very mean spirited, right, at that point in time, right? As time went on, then they got to see the other side of like the kind of people I'm talking about, right? And now when I look at it and I think about it from a less judgmental point of view, I realize that the thing is, in that church and maybe in other churches, but I'm speaking from my experience, is that when you are a Christian, you are expected to be a certain way, right? So even the concerns and the pain of people, the traumas that people come with, you know, in that space, in the church space, in the sister's apartment, those things are not dealt with, right? If, let's say, you are struggling to forgive, those things are not dealt with. It's just you don't have faith, you must pray more, and then you will know how to forgive. You must just get closer to Jesus, then you will forgive. If you say, I'm jealous because this person has 1, 2, 3, and from my perspective, I don't have that thing, then like you wouldn't even be able to voice those kind of things because of the judgment that you will get, you know. So I feel that there was a lack of emotional support. Just be this kind of a person. So like I think it was not an empathetic state of affairs, you know. Like you know, churches, they house, like, people who go there normally are people who want to find themselves, sometimes who are very hurt by the outside world, and they expect to get healing from the church. And sometimes the church does not even they don't want to see that part of you. They just want to, like, they have this goals, this vision that a person must be like this, and they don't listen to your concerns, right? So I would say that in that situation, people got gaslit a lot, right? Gaslighting, it means that when you are complaining about something, like, people would minimize it, right? So you are a bad person, right? So even if a person was really going through a lot, like, you would complain, oh, I'm not finding work, for example, it's stressing me out. Then you are blamed for the stress that you are experiencing, right? And then so I'm like, when I look back and look at that situation, and I realize that as much as those people were, for me at that time, I'm like, yo, you are so mean. Like, why do you have to be like that? And you are a Christian. Like, how come you cannot be that kind of a person? Like, how come you are that kind of a person? I realized that they also just did not get the support that they needed to be the kind of person that they want to be as well, you know. To really, like, deal with whatever it is that is really bothering them, like, so they take it out on other people, right? And also, like, when we are the same age, there's a lot of competition amongst us, which is normal in any situation, right? And and as much as I'm talking about other people, I'm sure other people will also complain about me and what I probably don't seem like. I get I'm talking from my perspective. So we were just going through a lot during that time, just growing up, growing pains, so, but like, the point is that I was disillusioned with how Christians were, so that esteem that I had for Christians, like, dropped. I just saw that these people are normal people. And I also dated in church, right? So 2013, from 2013, but it was a long distance relationship, because I was in Emelo, then I went to Nelspruit, then at the beginning of the year, then I went in 2014, then I went back to Pretoria. So we dated, but then in early 2015, then we broke up, right? So then that's my dating in church, right? So now, yeah, the dating this person was a pastor's child, not the pastor that our pastor at that church, but they come from his family had a church, right? So he was a pastor's child. So I guess that thing of date, and he was at the church before me. He was at the brother's apartment like way before me, right? So so I guess I expected someone who knows God to be much better, right? But yeah, I expected him to be much better, but I was quite disappointed. But okay, we didn't sleep together, so I can't say that he used me. So at least in that regard, he respected me, right? So when the relationship like broke down and I decided to leave the relationship, it was mainly out of neglect, and I felt neglected, that I was not loved the way that I should be loved. And then another thing was that I just felt like I just didn't know who this person is, you know, like to this person you are somebody else, to the pastor you're somebody else. Like I just did not know Romotoki man, you know. And also, yeah, I just felt like he had a lot of secrets, but I don't know any of them. If he had like other girlfriends, I don't know about it, but if you were to tell me, I wouldn't be surprised, just because of the way that he was, right? Yeah, but the point that I'm trying to make is that I'm trying to say that I just had a lot of faith in Christians, I guess. And then I just, yeah, I was disappointed, especially from somebody who's a pastor's kid. You think already they know better, but like sometimes they can even feel that like they were worse than, they are worse off than people who are not Christians, right? So eventually I even dated someone from outside of the church who was not religious at all, you know. And I was open about it, and my pastor would insist that he comes to church, and he never did, you know. And I remember they held a meeting for me saying, why is this person not coming to church? You can't date this kind of a person. Hana, he's an unbeliever and whatnot. And in my mind, I thought to myself that, you know, but actually the brothers in the church, like your products, I'm not happy with. I even dated one of them. So they are not better off, you know. I'd rather find somebody who who has manners generally, who just who has a good character in naturally. So not because the pastor says, you know, not, yeah, like naturally they are that kind of a person. Because what I was seeing at the church was that people would listen to what the pastor is saying. They would present themselves in a particular way at church on Sunday, but when like during the week they are somebody else, right? Up until the time that they come to church, and people just had secrets, you know. But for me, like, I'm no longer judgmental about those kind of things, you know. I just, because I feel like maybe we were really trying to package ourselves in a certain way, and maybe it was too strict, you know. And maybe, like I'm saying, that people could not really voice their concerns very much, so people like just did whatever they did behind people's back, which is for themselves anyways, you know. But yeah, but there were instances where like men would date multiple people in church, you know. So anyways, let's leave that topic about me and the Christians, right? So yes, that was the first thing that that I had to, like, that was the first thing that I feel that now it's helping me, because I won't look back and think that Christianity was better or whatever, right? Like, or Christians are having it nice just because they are Christians, right? And then yeah, even with the pastor also, I can say that I also held him in high esteem. I truly believe that he was speaking from God's from God. But now I realize that, like, sometimes not necessarily that everything that he was saying was truly like divinely inspired. Some of the things are just coming from his his thoughts, like it's his opinions, and it's his convictions, and it's how he wants things to be done, you know. Yeah, and yeah, there were times where if I was personally disappointed with the way he did things. There were times where I also had very disappointing things about him, where I thought, or I understood that this person has weaknesses, but I never thought that they crossed this line, right? So there were times where I also, yeah, in fact, not some of the stories, just one story that I had that was really, like that really, yeah. And this was even after I left the church. That was really disappointing, right? Yeah, so that was my Christian walk. That's what I learned during that time. It came a point where I was leaving the church, and when I was leaving the church, I didn't plan to leave the church, right? Just situations that were happening, I couldn't stay there. Like it was just it was crossing my boundaries. I couldn't stay there, and then I decided that I left in 2019, let's say maybe mid 2019. So from 2019, when I left the church, up until COVID, I was trying to go to church, but I just didn't feel church very much, you know. So the last time I went to church was was before the lockdown. Okay, so yeah, so it might seem as if I'm criticizing maybe Christians and maybe the pastor and the church itself, but that was not the reason why I left Christianity. Okay, and then yeah, and another thing that I forgot to mention was the fact that when I left the church, I was so scared for myself. Like I was so scared. Like now when I'm looking back at the things and the behavior of the pastor, I was so scared for myself, because I realized that there was a form of like cultness. Ne? There was just like, it was not enough to put me in danger a lot, but I was scared for myself, because I thought to myself that I could have, with that naivety, I could have ended up in a cult, right? So there were some kind of cult like situations, I feel, that where the pastor was just wanting to know everything that there is to know about you. Like obviously information is control. If you know someone, you can control them, right? And also the story that I said I had also was, I feel like there was a very big manipulativeness, even though it didn't end up being like, it didn't end up being a very big scary situation, but the way in which the situation was handled, it was very manipulative, very narcissistic. Yeah, so that was scary for me when I had that. Yeah, and then like things like you know, also like, yeah, the decisions that you make you must pass by the pastor, even where you work. You know, if he could, he would make that decision. It's just that like life doesn't work that way, and also the work market was not so like, yeah, like South Africa now, graduates was now starting to complain about unemployment. So we were not spoiled for choice when it came to where we were working. I remember, because my job, the one that I even have even today, up until today, we travel a lot, right? So it means that some Sundays I won't be at work, because we're traveling on Sunday, and then so that you can start working on Monday. So I would miss church. And I remember I was talking to the pastor about the work, and then I eventually said, anyways, that's the work that God gave me. And it's like, he laughed like sarcastically, like, that can't be God, that work is not from God, you know. Yeah, so it was just one of those things that I remember. And then yeah, when you wanted to go home to see your parents, you must report. You are not allowed to go as often as you wish, like, you know, so those kind of things. And then yeah, there was a certain level of control, but what I can say is that there were more good times than there were bad times. Yeah, mainly he really tried. Everybody has, like the pastor, he really tried. Everybody has weaknesses. Everyone has times where they are less ideal, but yeah, it is what it is. Generally there's more good things that we can talk about him more than the bad stuff. It's just that the thing with bad stuff is that they impact a lot. They traumatize people, so that's why people dwell on them, right? So yeah, because now you have to get over it, you have to forgive, you have to, because it's an impact, it's a wound that somebody inflicted on someone. So you can't just say no, get over it, because this person, the other things they are good at, right? So yeah, but in that church, that's what probably they would give you the advice. That would be the advice, to get over it, because there's things that this person is doing well. Yeah. And then there's favoritism, like, you know how church is like, you know. Yeah, so but then yeah, so there was definitely that cult like mentality that was there. I don't know if I was really under spiritual psychosis, the way that Pearl is talking about. I don't think I was that bad, but obviously people from outside would tell me better, because I obviously, how keep on, like, you don't see yourself. But I don't think I was really that convinced with everything that he was saying. And in the next video, maybe I will say why I was not convinced, like you. Yeah, I will just, when we now get into my spirituality, then we can talk about that. Yeah, but I think there was also some common sense, as much as the kind of church that I was sort of borderline cult-like, but I think I still had some common sense, because I made my own decisions when it came to dating. Yeah, and also like the fact that they were Koreans, it was fun, you know, because like you get to experience another culture, you know, even the food, just the way that they were, it made life interesting, you know, because they were from a different, you know, and they had children as well. Like, it was just nice to experience people that were not South Africans, who were Asians. And then we had kimchi, and then we had pineapple rice, you know, like it was seriously, like it was really nice. It was just that my time was over when it comes to that church. Now I look at it that way. Even when I was leaving, I just knew that my time was over there from that church. So yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about. That's what I wanted to talk about. In the next video, then I will talk about how I came into the African spirituality. I will somewhere just film it now, so that just because I'm already sitting here. But yeah, stay tuned for the next episode. Now I'll be diving back into how I came into African spirituality. Thank you for watching. I hope you subscribe. I hope you subscribe, like the video, comment, and leave a heart if you did enjoy the video. This is not about bashing Christianity, it's my experience. Thank you for watching.